Despite having the railroad all laid out with the engines and train cars to ride them, you do not possess any terminal facilities for your rail lines. Due to this major oversight, you will be unable to load or unload any passengers or cargo as your trains travel across your rail network. Having no terminal facilities might be useful when you're a politician, but it represents the death nail for a transportation company. Greetings and welcome back to Checkpoint Gaming, Ticket to Ride. With this episode, he'll be covering the other variants of the game. With Ticket to Ride, the card game, as the name implies, it is a card version of Ticket to Ride, and it consists of one rule book and 148 illustrated cards. With these illustrated cards, they consist of 6 Big City bonus cards, 46 destination ticket cards, and 96 train cards, which are divided into sets of 10 of each color and 16 locomotives. Just like the board game version, the objective of this version is to score the highest number of points. With the scoring of points, it is done by completing destination tickets found in the player's hand, with the additional points being scored by winning the Big City's bonus card at the end of the game. With the length of the game is dependent upon the number of people playing. In a 2 to 3 player game, they go through the train deck once, and when it has been depleted, there's the final turn followed by the game coming to an end and the points being scored. But in a 4-player game, when the train deck runs out, it will trigger the round of scoring of the completed destination tickets, followed by the train card discard pile being reshuffled in order to make a new train deck. When the second train deck runs out, then the 4-player game will come to an end and the final score is to be determined. During the game, players will have the opportunity to do one of the following: draw a new destination ticket card, draw a new train card, play train card in their hand onto the play area in front of them, which is known as the rail yard, or move their train card from the rail yard onto a single on-the-go track stack of train cards, which are to be placed face down in front of them. The train cards that are found in the respective on-the-track stock, players will use them in order to match the color and quantity of the routes that are found upon the destination tickets and scoring points from any completed tickets, and with the possibility of winning Big City bonuses in the process. Regarding game turns, the youngest player will go first, with the turn order then progressing clockwise and each player taking one turn at a time. On a player's turn, it consists of 2 separate steps. Step 1 consists of moving train cards from the rail yard and on the track. Step 2 consists of performing an action. With Step 1, if a player has any train cards in the rail yard, they will have to take one card from each colored row of train cards found in the rail yard and place them face down into a separate stack, which is known as their on-the-track stack. Once the cards have been placed into the player's on-the-track stack, they will have to remain there, hidden from all of the players, including the controlling player. This will last until the train deck runs out and it's time for the players to score their tickets. It is worth noting that with the young or inexperienced players, the group may allow everyone to look through their on-the-track stack at any given time. When on the player's first turn, when there are no more cards in the rail yard, then this step can be skipped. With Step 2, the player can perform one and only one of the following 3 actions: draw new cards, place train cards into the rail yard, or draw destination tickets. When drawing new cards, it's the same as drawing train cards in the board game, except the appearance of the third face-up locomotive won't trigger the replacing of all the face-up cards. So the player will draw 2 train cards at the top of the train deck and or from any of the 5 face-up train cards. If the cards are drawn from the face-up field, they are to immediately replace on the train deck before any other card is selected. If a locomotive is drawn from the face-up field, it counts as a 2-card pick and the player's turn will come to immediate end. But if the locomotive is drawn lying from the top of the train deck, then it will count as a single pick. There's also no limit to the number of cards that a player can have in their hand at any given time unless there are no more train cards left for the player to draw. With placing train cards into the rail yard, the player will play the cards from their hand face up into the rail yard. When doing this, the cards are to be in a suit of 2 or more train cards of the same color, or exactly 3 cards, with each color being that of a different color. When placed in a suit that consists of the same color, the cards are to be placed in a single row within the player's rail yard and being slightly offset from each other. If a locomotive is placed as part of a suit, then it will have to be placed at the top card. When locomotives are used in the completion of destination tickets, it can be used in any color, not just the color connected to the suit that it was initially part of when placed in the rail yard. When playing train cards that are different colors, locomotives cannot be played as part of this given set. Train card suits that have colors that are already played in the player's rail yard cannot be played again until the original cards of that color have been removed from the player's rail yard. In addition to this, train cards that have a color that's already found in the opponent's rail yard cannot be played unless the player lays down more of them than what is found in the opponent's rail yard. If this occurs, then the opponent will have to immediately discard all of their original cards of said color from the rail yard. If this occurs, it is known as train robbing. When drawing destination tickets, the player can draw 4 new destination tickets at the top of the ticket deck. After drawing these new cards, the player can keep any number of them, which includes not keeping any of them. Any discarded tickets are to be placed in the bottom of the ticket deck. Once a player has finished their turn, then play will proceed in a clockwise manner to the next player until there is no more train card left in the train deck. When the last card is drawn to the train deck, then each player will get one more turn, including the player who drew the last train card. If there is only one train card left in the train deck, a player can choose to draw the single card, thus causing the other players to perform one of the other actions during Step 2. From there, the players will use the train cards found in their own track stack in order to complete as many other destination tickets as possible, with each ticket displaying the number of cards needed of each color that is required to complete said tickets. Each card can only be used in the completion of a single destination ticket, and since locomotives are wild cards, they can be used as any given color. In order to complete a destination ticket, the player will have to match a set of train cards of the same color and quantity as the routes found upon their tickets using the train cards from their on-the-track stack. For players who are colorblind, they can use the symbols found in the upper corners of the train card and on the right-hand side of each ticket in order to distinguish between different colors. After verifying that all of the claimed tickets have been successfully completed, then the value of each completed ticket is to be added together for the respective player and then set aside face down next to the player. In a 2 to 3 player game, the game is over and the players will proceed to calculate the score. But in a 4 player game, the game will continue in the following manner. With the destination tickets that were not completed, they will remain secret and will stay within the player's hand along with any train card that were not played. But for all other train cards, including those that were used in the completed tickets, they are to be discarded along with any unused cards by the players on the track stack or rail yard. From there, these discarded cards are to be thoroughly reshuffled in order to create a new train deck where each player will be dealt 4 new train cards. Each player will then add these cards to their hand, and play will resume as before, starting with the player found to the left of the player who took the last turn. This will last until the train deck will run out once again. The players will then score the points from the newly completed destination tickets, which will be added to the prior score of each player. At the end of the game, players that possess uncompleted destination tickets will have to subtract the value of these tickets from the score. In addition to this, the player that possesses the most completed destination tickets that connect to each of the big cities out of Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and Seattle, then said player will receive a bonus card for that given city and will add the associated points listed upon that bonus card to their score. In the event of a tie, then all of the tied players will score the associated bonus points. With destination tickets that have 2 big cities listed upon them, then the player will count both cities toward the associated bonuses for their cities. After calculating the final scores, the player that possesses the most amount of points will win the game. But if there are 2 or more players that are tied for having the most amount of points, then the player who has the most completed destination tickets will win the game. But if there's still a tie, then the player with the most bonus cards will be deemed the winner. With Ticket to Ride, the dice game, as the name implies, it is a dice version of the game and is playable for people of all experience levels. When playing this version, it is done by rolling dice while playing upon a board map and with 5 white train dice, 3 black tunnel dice, 15 single route tokens, and 15 double route tokens. With any given train die, 2 sides of it have 1 track picture on it that indicates a single route, 2 sides of it has a 2-track picture on it which indicates a double route, 1 side of it has a station pictured on it that indicates a station of course, and 1 side of it has an engine picture on it that indicates a wild. With any given tunnel die, 1 side of it has a 1-track picture on it that indicates a tunnel, while the remaining sides are blank. All of the normal rules for the board game are in play, with a few exceptions. First, the train cards are not to be used, but with all the other components, they are still in play. When it comes to the routes, any color that they possess will no longer be applied. What this means is that all the routes are to be treated as the same color. The only thing that matters is if the routes are single or double in nature. With the train pieces, each player will start off with a number of them equal to what is indicated within the rules of the given map as usual. From there, place the single route and double route tokens face up next to the map. Second, during the player's turn, they can roll all 5 of their given train dice with the option of rerolling some, all, or none of them. If re-rolling, the player gets to only do it once and the reroll result will stand. With the possible train dice result, it consists of the following. Single route will count as 1 space stored in the claiming of a single route on the map. A double route will count as 1 space stored in the claiming of a double route upon the map. A station will allow for the drawing of 1 destination ticket which can either be kept or discarded, and a wild which can be used as any one of the aforementioned results. Using some or all of these dice results, the player can immediately perform one and only one of the following actions. Claim a single route, claim a double route, or draw destination tickets. The player also has the option of using any 2 unused dice of theirs to claim a token or tokens of their choice, where these tokens count as a single space stored in the claiming of a route in the corresponding type, either single or double. The use of these tokens can be used immediately to claim a route, or they can be used later. But with that said, the player can never possess more than 3 tokens of any given type. If a player starts their turn with 3 tokens in possession, they won't be able to claim any more of them during their turn, even if that player spends some of them during the course of their turn. The player is also free to discard some or all of their tokens that they possess at the end of their turn and draw different ones later on in the game. Third, we have other features found on the map that are meant for experienced players. With ferries, they're connected with the Europe and Nordic countries map, and if the player wishes to claim a ferry route, they will have to roll 1 die for every locomotive that is displayed upon the ferry route. With tunnels, they are connected with Europe, Nordic countries, and Switzerland maps, and after rolling or re-rolling the train dice, the player may decide to try to claim a tunnel route. If so, the player will roll the 3 tunnel dice. With every tunnel symbol as rolled, the player will have to add one more single or double route train dice or token at normal in order to claim the tunnel route. But if the player is unable to do this, the said player will be unable to perform another action and their turn comes to an end. It's worth noting that after rolling the tunnel dice, the player will be unable to reroll their train dice even if they have only rolled their train dice once. With train stations, they're connected with Europe, and if a player wishes to build one, they will have to use 1, 2, or 3 of their station dice results, or wild dice results instead, in order to build their first, second, or third respective station. From there, the player is not allowed to perform any other actions during their turn. With passengers, they're connected with Markland, and if the player wants to move with the passengers along a route controlled by an opposing player, they will have to use a wild dice to do this. They are also not allowed to perform any other actions during their turn. With Ticket to Ride Switcher, it sits in the rail yard of numerous rail lines that are continuously bustling with activity as engineers and yard workers do what they can to move cars onto the appropriate tracks. And the railroad manager is the player's responsibility to direct locomotives and shifting train cars into the correct position to help ensure that the trains depart on time. With Ticket to Ride Switcher, it is a single-player game and consists of a trackboard with tray, a rulebook, 40 route cards, 1 rail yard guide, 2 locomotives, 2 broken tracks, and 5 cards that consist of 1 black, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 red, and 1 yellow. The aim of the game is to successfully connect trains and cars to the correct route by using as few moves as possible. When it comes to solving a route card, it is done so when the player manages to place all of the locomotives and cars into the required positions without exceeding the number of moves that are allowed by the given card. When setting up the game, the player will choose the difficulty level, then take a route card that is of the matching color. With these route cards, beginner is green, there are numbers 1 through 10, intermediate is blue, and there are numbers 11 through 20, advanced are red, and there are numbers 21 through 30, and master is gray, and are numbered 31 through 40. From there, place any locomotive cards and broken tokens onto the track board as found upon the route card starting positions. The player is now ready to start the game. With the track lines, indicate how many locomotives and cards that are able to fit upon the track. It is worth noting that only 1 locomotive or car is able to fit between each track line. When it comes to that of broken tokens, they will block access to sections of the track board. When they are placed during setup, they cannot be moved, clamped, pushed, or moved through during gameplay. Players will want to use as few moves as possible to complete a route. The player will select one of the locomotives found upon the track board and move it either forward or backward upon the track, but with that said, the player cannot move a locomotive or car off the track board during movement. If there are 2 locomotives found upon the trackboard, then the player will have to choose which one to move. When making a movement, it will have to be along one continuous track, and the player is unable to make a sharp turn to the movement, or a sharp turn is a turn that is less than 90 degrees. With the coupling action of a locomotive, the last coupled car found in the train, it can be done either before or after moving the locomotive, and is done with the car or locomotive that is occupying the track line that is found directly behind said train or coupled car. All coupled cars and the locomotive can now move along with the lead locomotive. Players are also able to uncouple these trains. This can occur either before or after the locomotive has moved, but the player can uncouple any of their coupled cars or locomotive. This allows the player to move their locomotive without any of the uncoupled cars or locomotive. It is also possible for the players to stop a locomotive. Doing so counts as one movement towards the maximum number of moves that can be done upon the route card. When they stop, all locomotives and coupled cars will have to stop between train lines with only 1 car or locomotive found in the space between train lines. Finally, we have push, which occurs when the locomotive is moved forward or backward upon the track. When performing a push, a player can move cars or locomotives found upon the track in the same direction as the locomotive. A player also possesses a skill rank which is dependent upon the number of moves they perform in order to complete a route. The highest rank a player can have is Yardmaster, which is earned by performing the minimum move in order to succeed. The lowest rank a player can have is Signalman, which is earned by performing the maximum number of moves allowed in order to win. Found upon the back of each route card, it gives the player the means of obtaining the Yardmaster rank. This is known as the Rail Yard Guide. With every move that a locomotive will need to make, it will show the starting position and its destination. Every train line is also identified by their own shape, color, and letter. So that said, that's what we need to know about the other variants of the game. If you like this episode, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes we upload, go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/checkpointgaming. See you in the next episode, and happy gaming.